Dude, thank you so much, everybody, for joining another episode of Fireside Chants. Today, Todd fucking Jones. Todd, is it every time that you do a guest appearance, you get Todd fucking Jones? Please tell me it is, because you deserve it, brother.
I don't think so, but thank you. That's kind.
No, seriously, man. Honestly, Jeremy and I, just over the years, from all the bands and all the things that we drool over, somehow coincidentally end up being something that you're fucking involved with. So, we really appreciate you taking the time here and, sitting down and chatting, getting into, some nitty gritty earlier things. And as well as, the new music that's coming up. You guys are going to be coming locally to us. We're going to have to come and check you guys out here. What is it? In November, you're coming to Detroit? October?
September, September 11th, Montreal, 12th, Toronto. So the 13th is Detroit of September.
Beautiful.
Changing
So
calendar.
it's a Friday night.
Dude. And we're there. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be bashing on some fools and having some fun.
Fantastic.
Just absolute dark and fun time, dude. But yeah, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time, man. This is fucking awesome, Todd.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We have kind of a couple things earlier on. We try and not to just blow over the same old bullshit that we hear every time, and kind of, oh well, how did you this and this? Maybe some of those other things, for those who may have just be watching the show and may not be familiar or savvy to some of your stuff. But as far as we kind of did this introduction of Todd fucking Jones. Now, your earlier days being involved in hardcore and punk, did you ever have any nicknames? Did you ever have Todd Death or or any of the sorts where you went by and maybe had a shirt with a jersey name on the back?
No, just people have called me TJ. Some of my Oxnard friends have called me Body Bag, um, which is directly related to the Rain on the Parade 7-inch called Body Bag. Um, I was a real big fan of that record when it came out, and still am. But I don't know. I think my enthusiasm for that record um, probably encouraged somebody to give me that nickname.
Okay. I mean, I something that I loved, in both Jeremy and I's, research as far as kind of your backstory was hearing, Oxnard, and that was one of the things where the only time I ever heard of that was the Warriors. That was where that city, that area was introduced to me.
Tarina, right? Tarina's from there, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
They
Great band.
rip. They rip.
And I got, I mean, I'm a little bit more of a Warriors. That kind of, that goes by. So me personally, but I mean, were you going and checking out Warrior shows and yelling out "War is hell" at those fools too?
Yeah, I saw a lot of Warriors shows, particularly when they were on their demo and probably before they put out their first album. They would play Ventura and Oxnard a lot. Warriors were a band that absolutely represented Oxnard, but also a city called Tehachapi, which is right outside Bakersfield. And Javier was from Oxnard. And throughout the years, they've had other folks from Oxnard join their band and whatever and whatnot. So yeah, they represented Oxnard very well. But yeah, I did. I saw Warriors quite a bit. You know, I, a lot of those guys are my age or within my age bracket. So spent a lot of times with those guys, seeing their band play or just going to the same shows that they went to.
Yeah, that's awesome. We kind of do, kind of some earlier looking in and digging into, and one of the things that I kind of heard you mentioned before is picking up guitar from your dad, and your dad being, what was it, a jazz musician?
Primarily like a blues musician. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, in those earlier, times, as far as your parents, what were some things that were kind of playing, maybe even pre-interest in rock and roll or anything punk or anything like that, were really catching your ear and kind of developed that start of guitar?
Well, I think like when I was just like, 5 or 6 or 7 years old, I would hear a lot of Led Zeppelin in my house. Gary Moore's solo album that has Still Got the Blues. That record was always played. My dad loved that one. My dad loved the Byrds, the Beatles, Crosby, Stills and Nash, the Eagles, stuff like that. And then I have memories of playing like ColecoVision with my brother. He had Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction, Metallica Master of Puppets, and like Great White, I think Once Bitten, or I don't know the name of the record, but
Once bitten,
uh
twice shy. I'll help you out there.
it is the one with the blonde woman on the cover with the shark
It's like
behind
a
her.
bed almost. It's like a bed sheet, but it has a shark going through it.
Yeah.
Really
So
hot.
I remember that record, but I was like 6 or 7 years old. It's not like I enjoyed it and I had fun, but really I was there just to play video games, and that's what he listened to. So I listened to that by default. But then when I actually fell in love with music, it was when like in 1992, like when Nirvana and Nevermind had been out for a little bit, and same thing with Metallica Black Album. But those were like those two albums each were like the a big part of my youth as far as me getting like finding music for myself.
Now, where came involved as far as you kind of piecing together that people notoriously were mad at the Black Album? Where like I feel like when I was kind of listening to Metallica and such, I enjoyed it, and then all of a sudden I talked to some of the old heads who were like, "Fuck this! This ain't Metallica."
Yeah, I was never around anybody who had that opinion. I was a 12-year-old person, so I didn't hang out with really too many older people than me, but like I probably didn't even discover that people didn't really like that record until like Load came out and I was in my late teens, and met some people, and it makes sense to me. I that if you were a person who was experiencing Metallica in real time, and you got Ride the Lightning, then you got Master of Puppets, then you got And Justice for All, that you would be disappointed when the Black Album came out, because it is like it's a complete personality shift, not so much a sound shift, because it's actually like a remarkable record in the way that they were able to take their sound and make it mainstream. You get 1,000 bands and 999 of them are going to fall on their face when they try to do that, but Metallica didn't. And so I wouldn't necessarily say it was even a sound change. It was more of like a personality change. But yeah, it took me a while. I mean, I didn't start using the internet until probably like 1998 or 99, and that's when you're really exposed to a lot of opinions from around the world of various folks at various ages. But yeah, I didn't hear a lot of hate for the Black Album until years after I had loved it.
It's the internet's fault. Fuck them.
Yeah. Well, I just mean as far as like my scope was coming from, I had older brothers and like their buddies, and shit. And so like that record coming out, and maybe it wasn't right away, but I just remember it was kind of like a thing where it was like, oh, fuck that. You want to listen to them, you have to listen to such and such. I'm like, I don't know, Holier Than Thou fucking kind of rocks, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess I didn't have older people around me at that time, even though I did have an older brother. He wasn't really he just I don't know. We weren't in each other's lives like for a couple of years. So
Sure. Okay. I mean, it is around this age range where like something like Salzer's Records comes to play as far for you being like a local shop. And how is that for you as far as, is it CDs, is it cassette tapes? What were things that were really drawing you visually in? Cover art?
so there were two. I think that's awesome that you mentioned Salzer's. There was two really big record stores. Three really big record stores for me in my youth. Salzer's was one of them. Wild Planet in Ventura on Main Street, which I don't think it's any of there anymore. That's one of them. And then I know it's weird. And then another one was the Record Outlet in Ventura, which was in East Ventura by the mall. Um, but Salzer's has been in Ventura, I think, since the 70s. Um, and that's just the place to go. Like everybody in the Ventura County area knows the Salzers because it was just the record store which had the widest selections. It was 2 stories. They sold mainly, so in the mid to late 90s, they had a small vinyl section, but they mainly sold CDs and cassettes. And then they had like I think they sold like water pipes and like things that like people who smoke pot would be interested in, like lava lamps maybe. Um, but they also sold like band shirts and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I went and I remember buying lots of things from Salzers. I remember one time in particular, like I went there and I got like the Chain of Strength discography on tape. along with Slayer's Undisputed Attitude in the same time. And I don't know why I remember that so specifically, but that was a big source of me buying punk and hardcore and metal cassettes and CDs. And when I started getting into punk, Record Outlet had more vinyl. So like I remember one time I went to Record Outlet and I bought like Black Flag, My War, and the first Adolescence album like at the same time. That's no longer there before, but yeah, Ventura County and Oxnard like have like a very rich punk rock history dating back to the early 80s. Bands such as Ill Repute and Aggression, Stalag 13, Doctor No, RKL, NoFX, Rat Pack, like so many good like punk bands. So I was very fortunate to grow up in a pocket of the United States that did have a rich punk rock history, and people were very familiar with it in general, so it wasn't like a taboo thing.
Yeah, man. I thought it was cool too. I mean, as far as like, I feel like a lot of times when somebody mentions something from their childhood or from, being young, being around like Salzers, I looked it up, real quick after I heard you mention it in an interview, and I thought it was crazy the place is still around. I was like, holy shit, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I hope they never shut down. It'll be a sad day. But as far as I know, they're rocking. It's been a while since I lived in Ventura. But yeah, I hope that place never goes away.
It's always interesting to me because like being in the Midwest and like, for me growing up, like my record shop was like Best Buy in Circuit City. Like
Sure.
that was like what I get. So it's always interesting hearing people's, stories because I'm like, man, like I just feel like it'd be so wild to walk in and like you were saying, like they have like, anything that you could really probably think to pick up, they would have there. So even as like a kid, you could just be like, you ain't like, pre-internet, like that's what you relied on. Like you weren't going to be able to listen to that shit unless you had the physical copy. So, that's always, I kind of had to get into the deep. I know I keep bringing this up. I don't know why I always bring this up on the fucking, but the like relapse compilations or like I'd have to get a compilation to get the
Yeah.
deep cuts, like the stuff that like Best Buy or Circuit City would never carry. But well, it's a nuclear blast thing or a relapse thing, so they carry it. But to your point of like having those weird memories, it's funny you say that because I was talking to my wife the other day, like a specific memory of like I remember going with my dad and picking up a Motorhead like retrospective, and then it also was like I picked up Decade of Aggression. And that was when I was really digging into like old era Slayer. Like I'd heard like because like I was old enough that when like Divine Intervention came out, like that was an album for me that was like, oh, it's out in the store, I can pick it up off the shelves. But everything else was kind of like history for me. And so I was like, well, I'll just pick up Decade of Aggression. But I remember like I'm like, how I don't remember shit. But I remember like sitting in that car, like waiting for him to run an errand and like putting it in this, and I was like, oh, I gotta listen to Slayer. But it's just weird how you remember like, oh, I this random purchase I made one time when I was 13 years old or whatever it is. But
Yeah, how do those become core memories? I don't know.
it's Slayer, I guess. You're talking about Slayer. I mean,
Yeah, that's exactly
probably
how.
yelled Slayer a couple times and it just like ingrained the memory in me.
I thought the story was gonna go like you got back in the car and the fucking CD player didn't work, and you're like, no, I had one chance. Now I can't
It's the
listen
only
to
CD player left on earth.
it. I mean, as far as live music, so Todd, kind of looking into some of your story as well. You mentioned a Good Riddance show. Is this the first time that you experienced live music, or where can you bring us back to as far as maybe a first concert? How does that get introduced to you?
Well, my first concert was something I have very few memories of, but I do have memories of it. It was Los Lobos in a park in Ventura. I was probably like 5 or 6 years old. And prior to that, like I've gone to a couple other concerts. Like I saw Etta James. I've seen Los Lobos like 2 or 3 times. By proxy of my father. He was real interested in those. But when I was 12, my father took me and I saw Nirvana at the Forum in Los Angeles on December 30th, 1993. And then when I started getting so my first like punk rock show was Good Riddance, Strung Out, and Ill Repute in Oxnard. And I think that was the summer of or the spring of 1995. So I was getting into like stuff like Like I think I had heard Minor Threat by then, um, but I had gotten into punk through Nirvana and then through Green Day and Offspring, and then started buying like the Epitaph and Fat Records band stuff. And then, I was at that show and saw Good Riddance and Strung Out, who are each on Fat Records, and then Ill Repute, who are, local hometown heroes. Phenomenal band, too. I just want to make that clear. Um, and then got into hardcore from there. But like there was a promoter who booked a lot of shows around, not just in Ventura County, but around California, um, called Numbskull Productions, and it's a fella named Eddie, and he really booked a lot of shows in Oxnard and Ventura, and so I can't say it was necessarily every weekend, but like I often went to shows like in Ventura, which is one city away from me, or in Oxnard. Like there was always like there was a lot of punk shows to go to. So
And luck, I mean, it sounds like a lot of times it was your dad that was bringing you them to these.
no, no, my dad like would let me go to shows with my friends like when I was like 13.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't mind me going out and going to shows. I think he probably understood it maybe more than most parents because like, he was obsessed with music from the time, he was, 11 or 12 years old as well. And, you know, he probably wanted to go to shows and his parents or concerts and his parents wouldn't let him. So he was supportive in the way that he, allowed me to go with my friends to strange places until not get home until 1 or 2 in the morning.
Is that where you'd say you kind of get like your like did that rub off on you like that passion for music and just like I gotta hear more music, check out more music, get into it? Was that like kind of like a dad influence thing or
Well, I would say, my father didn't like share my enthusiasm for punk rock and hardcore. And, I wouldn't expect him to. A man who's like in his late 30s, early 40s, like, who's into Robin Trower and blues guitar players, it's not for him. But I think the thing that was most influential for my father was not only did he put a guitar in my hands when I wanted a guitar, and not only did he teach me things, but I could watch him play guitar like right in front of me. And at the time, I didn't understand this, but I understand it now. I think being able to watch someone play guitar was huge for me because it did a couple things to me psychologically. Like, number one, it was a thing where it's like, well, if he could do it, I could do it. Like, if this human being can do it, I'm a human being, I could do it. And number two, it's like, whatever complicated things he could play, I could actually see him doing it. And so I would have a starting point. Whereas maybe other folks who, my age, who they didn't have a guitar player around them, but they had a ambition to learn how to play guitar, like maybe I was one step ahead of them because I could have someone show me the stuff or I could watch them visually and see how it was done. I think that was huge. I mean, because I've been in a situation where like I had a roommate and like, he's a good guitar player, but he didn't necessarily know how to trem pick. Like he could and and he learned it. And his pal came over, he said, "Hey, how'd you learn how to do that?" He's like, "Oh, just by watching Todd." And that like put a light bulb in my head. I was like, "Oh, that is helpful. If you could watch someone do something that is like, it just kind of gives you that extra little like step up that you might need to actually get it done yourself." So I think that was probably like the biggest influence. Other than him, yes, just allowing me to do that stuff.
That's interesting. I guess I've never even thought of because I guess I think of like being a young kid and thinking about taking on drums and going to see Slayer and Dave Lombardo playing Brain and Blood. It's like, how the fuck am I ever gonna do that? Like, I'm really trying, but you kind of get together with buddies and you have somebody who has a set of drums and they kind of are doing a couple of things in your mind. Maybe it might even be something too where it's like a little bit of a competitive spirit sometimes where it's like, ah, this motherfucker can do that. I got to figure that out.
Yeah, friendly competition. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting point. I think that is, you know, I think it can work, certain ways too. But like myself, I have kids, and I've always kind of thought that it'd be kind of fun if they pick up playing guitar or playing drums or something, and neither of them have that interest. And I've never been one that wants to like force it on them. But it's like, man, I've got a whole kit here. You know, you can fucking learn on old Ludwig. Like, let's have some fun.
They've seen you load drums and they're like,
yeah, they're like, this.
why would I want to do this?
Get out of here.
The whole time you're just like, I fucking hate drums. Being in a band sucks.
Oh, man.
So what was that? So like when you start learning, right? What is that first guitar?
As a blue 1986 Fernandez Strat. So like it was like a Japanese company that made knockoff guitars, and my dad had owned it, and he had it on consignment in a store. And when I told him I wanted to play, he took, he went to the store, got it back, and handed it to me. And yeah, I mean, I was really into Nirvana, so like having a Stratocaster with a single coil, like I was able to kind of mimic those tones, and it felt good to be able to like do that because I just my method of learning guitar was, my father would show me some basic things like a power chord and then open chords and whatnot, whole chords, and then I just started learning Nirvana songs. Like I would ask him, "Hey, can you show me this?" So he would learn it by ear and then show me. And then after watching him do that, I learned how to do that on my own. So I could kind of learn the songs by myself. And then also a big thing was Metallica tablature books. I got a tablature book for Kill 'Em All, for Master of Puppets, for And Justice for All, and the Black Album. So those were huge, and like I was just a bored person, so it's like, oh, I'm not doing anything. Well, I might as well just play guitar, and like I would play for so long and for so many hours, and I was at the point where I was like, I was trying to play it as perfect as I heard it on the record. Now, whether I was doing that or not, I don't know, but that was the kind of drive I had. That's what I wanted to do, and I mean, like the first 2 or 3 or 4 years of me playing guitar is where I got like 95% of my abilities that I have today. Unfortunately, I didn't like continue to learn as much as I did in those first 3 years. But it's those years were very important and very, very helpful for me.
Were you so just playing some amps that your dad had laying around? Like, were you like, are you
Yeah,
big
so
into gear in that way? Like, are you?
when I was that age, no, absolutely not. I mean, being 12, 11, 11, 12 years old, you don't really have any money. So it's
Mhm.
like your brain doesn't like get driven to catalogs and stuff. Well, at least mine didn't. But like, he had like he had a Roland Jazz Chorus 120. So I would use that, and then he eventually got me like a small like $60 like amp that had distortion on it. And I probably used that for a while, and then for a couple of years I had this like very small Marshall not it's not a full Marshall full stack. It's like a Marshall stack that's like a miniature full stack. It only really comes up to your waist. I just saw a bunch of those in a music store. And then my first real amp that was like a head and not just and I bought like a JCM 900 when I was like 18. Like like I I don't know. I guess I would use people's stuff or just use what was ever around. And then I traded that for a 5150, and I played that 5150 when I was in Carry On. So I did it's weird because I was not interested in amps at all until I was like in my early to mid 20s. Um, an amp to me was just like a means to an end. And the amps that I would see people play a lot were the Mesa rectifiers. So when I got my 5150, I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have because those amps are insanely good, and I wish I never got rid of mine. Like I had the original block logo.
Yeah.
But like I got a dual rectifier, like right when I joined Terror, and I still have it. It's a great amp. Um, but then like 3 years after that, I borrowed someone's rig, and it was like a Marshall, and it just sounded so good. Like Mesa rectifiers, they have a great sound. But when you compare a Mesa to like a Marshall has like a bitier, like a more of a bite with the treble, and kind of like bursts out at you. Whereas like a Mesa is like a very controlled, compressed, creamy, smooth sound. And that's also very good. Um, and they both have their utility and they're both great amps. But after that, I lean towards like Marshall stuff.
Interesting. I mean, I think I hear, back and forth. I'm not Mr. Guitar, I mean, by any means. I see a lot of the 5150 shit, but like the Marshalls as well. I mean, even mentioning like Slayer, like I think when I was a kid, like I just looked at the shit that they used and I'm like, oh yeah, that's good enough.
Well,
That's
right. And
perfect.
I mean, they probably looked at the stuff that Judas Priest was using and they said that's what we need. Like it's like probably the same experience, you know?
No, I mean, as far as I think, guitar wise, what I think of, when I hear your name, I always think of the tone. Where, years down the line, I'm sure, where did that come into play as far as, like picking up some pedals or kind of fucking around with any of that? Have you been into gear over years, or is it just kind of a stripped down real approach?
No, I started getting into pedals probably around 2005 and I really love chorus. So I bought the same model in the same year chorus pedal that Don Zientara from Washington, D.C. is a recording engineer out there, and he recorded like all the Minor Threat stuff, like the first two Dag Nasty albums, and like all the early Discord record stuff. And I wanted to own the chorus pedal that he had, so that was like my first pedal. Other than a tuner and a noise suppressor, like when I was in Carry On and I was in Terror, I had a tuner and a noise suppressor, but I never got pedals to use as an effect because when you're playing in a band like Carry On or you're playing in a band like Terror, you only really need the amp. Like maybe you need a screamer so you could tighten up the bass like just a little bit, or maybe like a little bit of an EQ. But really, like when you're playing that kind of music, it's kind of like plug and play. You get like a high gain amp and you just go for it, tune your guitar and rip. Um, so. Like even in nails, like I got into that HM2 pedal and I've used Phaser live, but really like I just need a high gain amp and an HM2 and I'm good to go. Like I don't have a lot of pedals on my boards. It's yeah.
Do you stick to
Uh,
like just using a good old Boss HM2, or have you dabbled with variants? Because I mean,
I've dabbled. There's a lot of great boutique and just independent makers out there that make radical variations of the HM2. I own quite a few. I own a Dunwich one, which I love very much, and I own and Dunwich made one for nails, which I love very much, and then also Kurt made the Jugendstil. I know I'm going to say that wrong, but he made a HM2, which honestly I think is the best. But with that being said, on my pedal board is a Wazacraft HM2 because um, it sounds good. And also, like if my shit gets lost, stolen, or broken on tour, I can just pop into a Guitar Center and uh, you know, no problem. Like I could pick up the pedal as opposed to like, if I bring like a $500 boutique HM2 or pedal on tour and it gets lost or stolen or broken, I'm gonna be sad because it costs so much money. And also like, well, hey, that thing did like a particular type of thing that I need. And I'm very I, I'm very utilitarian with my gear. Um, that's how I kind of approach it. I just take what I need. So I have a tuner, a Boss Wazacraft HN2, and then a momentary kill switch. Okay. So I've never been able to successfully noise suppress an HM2 rig. It's just too much gain, too loud. So hold on a second. Uh, so what I use a momentary kill switch, and it's something that I could lay my foot on and it'll kill the sound. But it's basically, see this right here? It's
like it's
not, you
not
don't have,
latching.
yeah, exactly. It doesn't click. So you don't need to like click it on, click it off. It's just like if I'm playing and there's a part that's quiet, I just hold my foot down and it kills a signal. And then I let my foot up and then it opens up the signal. So that's the way that I suppress noise with my guitar, with nails. And it's the best thing I found and the easiest thing I found. But if there's somebody out there who knows how to successfully noise suppress the HM2 rig, I'd love to know about it.
Was this just something that you found on like an online thing or through friends? Like, how the fuck do you find that?
I found out through a friend, and I can't remember who. I'd love to give them credit. Um, I don't think it was a video. I think it was like maybe it was another HM2 guitarist. I just can't remember.
Man,
I think the best I ever got with an HM2 was running it in parallel, and then I could tame that a little bit better, and I could get the taste, but it's not the same. It's not the same as just running it direct, like full signal through the HM2.
So was it cutting tone or was it not suppressing it as fully as you needed it?
Uh, it didn't have the same HM2 effect on it. It just add that little bit of the like buzz, the chainsaw to it.
Okay.
Because it still had so much of the just standard signal going through as well. So it was that blend, and it's just I couldn't get it to be exact. Like it was that compromise. It's like you either have the noise of the HM2 or you kind of half-ass it, and it's close. But at that point,
Yeah,
like, what's the fucking point? Like I don't want close. I want the fucking sound.
it's hard. Yeah. So somebody will do it and they'll make a bunch of money off of it. Maybe they'll make a particular noise suppressor that they could sell for $300. Pedals are
Kurt probably already knows how. Don't give me that. You've talked to Kurt.
yeah.
Kurt. I get it now. I get it now. The new album's gonna come out. It's gonna be called the pedal is gonna be called the Bridge Burner
there you go.
by Kurt Ballou, God City, everything, and it's gonna be this HM2 noise gate that sells.
Copy of the record.
I wish we had this conversation a year ago so I could have done exactly what you're saying.
Motherfucker. All right. I mean, you know, so you getting into guitar, you have, these interests, you have these really quick here. I mean, before we kind of dive even further into this, we've heard a little bit about the interest in Van Halen through the years and through the albums that they've got. What are three tracks that you would say are just, I've never heard Van Halen. Tell me what three songs do I have to hear? I have heard them, but I just mean as far as if I have.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I could tell you what my favorites one. I don't know if I could tell you which ones you need to hear, but like
Favorites. Let's stick to favorites.
favorite, Mean Streets, first song off Fair Warning. Um, I'm the One from their first album, and the last song off 1984, House of Pain. Those
Oh,
are heavy, 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 heavy songs. Maybe not I'm the One. I'm the One's a little upbeat, but House of Pain is like very heavy. I don't know, dude. It's kind of hard to recommend Van Halen really to anybody who listens to like extreme metal because it's fun. It's a little corny is not the right word, but like David Lee Roth energy, like party energy is it's a little on the nose sometimes. But like the thing that I got out of Van Halen wasn't so much like their music, like I love it, but the thing that I got out of them that I was able to put into Nails' songs was I just wanted to be more expressive on guitar. Like Eddie Van Halen, he's like an incredibly expressive, the most maybe expressive guitar player ever. Like, if you listen to like a verse, like typically guitar players will play the same thing four times, or maybe like there's a turnaround on the fourth measure. But like there's some sort of pizzazz or some sort of feel to every measure and it doesn't repeat. Like the dude is just expressive.
It's a pain in
And
the ass to learn too. It's a pain in the ass.
if you want to play it exactly like him, dude, it's near impossible. So, but you could learn a lot from what he does if you put time into it. But yeah, I was just like, man, you know what? This is really expressive. I love how expressive the guitar playing is. And it's like, well, maybe I could put like my own version of my own expression into guitar playing and just like kind of, just go off a little bit more with my left hand. So I have been talking about Van Halen. I try to be honest and open with people. I don't think that people are going to hear me say that Van Halen influenced New Nails, and I don't think they're going to think that's cool. I'm not saying that but it's just the truth.
I I think, honestly, I think that's always the coolest fucking thing for somebody who is in a death metal band or is in, whatever, even if it's a folk band and they're like, oh, this Cannibal Corpse or Deicide record actually inspired me to write this by the story of it. I think that shit's fucking awesome. I think it's cool.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
me
like,
too.
I don't think it's necessarily one of those things that's always so fun for things to be just so black and white and be like right in that box. I mean, you mentioned, like kind of like that love for Van Halen and some of those things too. It's like, dude, I think just music in general rocks. I kind of grew up in a home too, and I think Jeremy as well, where like having a vast variety of just different genres to where over the years it's cool hearing stuff like that and it not being something that's just straight up like a death metal act or something. So that's kind of where I'm starting to hearing about Van Halen. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, I love that.
You got to get like your inspiration anywhere you can.
Totally. Now, what about Van Hagar? Yeah, let's kind of cut the ropes here a second. Where are we at with that?
I don't listen to it. I have listened to it and I enjoyed it, but I haven't gotten there yet. I expect myself to dig into that and really dig into that someday. But it's a completely different band, really. Their sound is more maybe more progressive and more kind of mature, and then the vocals are more songs about love instead of songs about partying. So it's just a different feel and it's a different vibe. But at the end of the day, dude, like Eddie Van Halen played on all that shit, and I want to if he plays on something, I want to hear it, you know. But I'm waiting for my Van Hagar phase. I'll welcome it when it comes, but it hasn't come yet.
Okay.
I crossed over about 3 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, I was learning the solo to Love Walks In.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what their first album, what's their better album, 5150 or OU 812?
With Hagar?
Yeah, because I think those are the first two, right? Those
Yeah.
are.
I'm giving a hard pass on both of them. I can appreciate, with Eddie being on there, but boy, oh boy, that corny motherfucker does not do it for me.
Man,
Yeah.
chill out, man.
Look, I have a right to my opinion. I just said I love Van Halen. All right, I have a right to my opinion. Okay, I'm not one of these guys that just loves the demo and the first album. Okay, I said I liked Black Album for fucking Christ's sakes.
No, I could. It's a common opinion to like David Lee Roth, but not like Van Hagar. I don't think you're alone in that.
I think honestly, it was kind of more of those things that when I was younger, it was kind of more of that energy, like you mentioned, with like the party kind of approach, and had that energy and kind of that silly quirkiness, and show them how you do, all this shit. I was like, man, this shit rules.
I will say 5150 is the better album. 5150 is better.
Okay, yeah, I've listened to them. I listened to like the first three albums in a row one day, and I had that same conclusion.
But I mean, let's not get it twisted. Like original albums, the original lineup, that's the best. And for me, there's nothing that beats the groove, the riff in Unchained. Unchained, that riff.
Oh,
I love that.
So good. And maybe I should go back, with the thought of, because I mean, mentioning, as far as Eddie being on it and shit, the talent is out there, and it's not that I hate Sammy Hagar or his vocals or anything like that. I think it's just like you mentioned, it's just a little bit of a different energy that maybe now that I've aged a little, I have to go back and dig into. No shit. Yeah. Now, I mean, Jeremy, you came up with a Slayer, a couple of questions, and let's jump there really quick.
Let's move over a little bit from Van Halen. Slayer. You can say Slayer influenced, and people will think that's cool, so that's good. So. What's the best for you? Can you say this is the best Slayer album? This is my favorite Slayer album.
Rain and Blood.
Rain and Blood. It's not even
no question. Yeah, for the longest time, for probably like for more than 10 or 15 years, it was Seasons in the Abyss. Seasons in the Abyss was the first record I heard, and I really like it because I think that so after Rain and Blood, they did South in Heaven, which they intentionally slowed down musically. And also on South of Heaven, Tom Araya tries to like sing or tries to, okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't think he had found that aspect of his voice yet, or at least on that record. But on Seasons in the Abyss, I think he did find how to do like the sinister style that he did on Rain and Blood, plus add like I don't know. I don't know how to say it. Like kind of sing a little bit more, or just kind of sound more clear. I think he executed that aspect perfectly on Seasons in the Abyss, and I also think Seasons in the Abyss is a great combination of, fast stuff like on Rain and Blood, and also like mid-tempo stuff on South of Heaven. So, but that was my favorite record. But just listening to it so much, it's like, dude, this is Rain and Blood. Like this record is so unique. It's much more unique than Seasons in the Abyss to me um, because of its intent. It's all just like a fist hitting. Like it's all just like aggression. There's no clean channel guitars. It's like these dudes were like fully committed to this very narrow piece of sound, and they just did it for 10 songs, and every song sounds fresh. Like there's no skip songs on that record. Everything sounds vital, everything sounds important, and I don't know. Like there's not like to find a record that is so narrow and focused, but still like keeps you interested from when you start listening to it until the end. It's a rare thing, and that's why I think Rain and Blood is their best record, because I think I mean, I don't know. It's just so unique because it is so like singular minded, but also just like so fucking good and catchy.
One, to your point, it's not a short album.
No,
They're fast songs and there's some short songs, but I mean, that's not like a modern punk, a punk or hardcore album that's going to be sub 20 minutes. I think that album nears 30-minute mark. And to your point, no skips and it's looping before you even notice.
yeah, that's right. Like by the time you're done listening to it, you're happy to listen to it again.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I think I struggle because every year, I feel like every year or whatever it rotates. I think I kind of really bounce between Rain and Blood and Seasons.
Okay.
Like I don't know, like late, like Hell Awaits even was like creeping up there for me this past year. Like I just I mean honestly, just that song, like Hell Await, like just the intro alone to Hell Awaits, I'm just like I want to just kill everything when I hear that song.
Yeah, that song is so good that that song alone is just worth the price of admission for that album. Like, and it's so good that by the time you're done listening to that one song, you've already made up your mind that the whole entire album's great.
Yeah.
Like this is great. Like
You're like
I'm in. Like I'm into this. This is what I
like
like. So
like man, you got a lot of like noodles in here that aren't good, but this sauce you fucking threw on it, it's just everything's great now.
The song hasn't even ended. You're like, God, this is a great album, right, guys? You like the whole thing? It's the fucking first song.
So I want to stir the pot a little bit. I want to cause a little controversy.
uh-oh.
I want to go viral. No, I don't want to go viral. Are you? And maybe this is a me thing. After I thought of the question, I was even like, maybe I'm just a fucking weirdo causing problems. But are you a Kerry King or a Jeff Hanneman
Jeff
guy?
Hanneman. Jeff Hanneman.
Is that so? It's not just me. Like it's a thing. Like you pick. You're in Team
Yeah.
Jeff or Team Kerry, right?
Well, number one, I would really love to meet Kerry King. I really do think highly of him. With that being said, there's like a depth to Jeff Henneman's um, guitar playing, like the songs he writes, like the riffs he writes. There's like a depth to him that isn't present in Kerry's playing. Like Kerry is, especially in modern years, I feel like he's gotten more punk rock. But with that being said, like his playing is very direct and very aggressive. But like Hanneman's playing, like there's a little bit of more soul to it. And really, Hanneman crafted like Slayer's. Okay, so Slayer does this thing on guitar, which they basically made a career out of them for themselves. So like, they did Show No Mercy, great record. They did Hell Awaits, great record, but they found their sound on Rain and Blood. That's when Slayer became Slayer. That's when Slayer became the band that everybody knows them by, and that's where they found their style that they would even carry into till they were done being a band. So with that being said, um, the song "Raining Blood," dun, 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 dun. Okay, that's one of their big. I don't. I assume that song was a big song when it was fresh, when it was new, but that song became their biggest song, or at least one of their top three biggest songs. Okay, so that riff, da-na-na-na, that is a riff that they have used to make variations to make other big fucking Slayer songs. Mandatory Suicide is a variation of that guitar riff. Dead Skin Mask is a variation of that guitar riff. The first real song of God Hates Us All. It's not called God Hates Us All, but that's the song that says that in the chorus. That is a very, yes, Disciple. That riff is a variation of the guitar riff from Rain and Blood. So and that riff is also a variation of, and that's in South of Heaven. So,
It's the Slayer riff.
it's the Slayer riff, and Jeff wrote it.
There you go.
Okay.
And to your point, like when I say team, like, I mean, here's the deal. Here's the deal. I might say team. I'm on Team Jeff, like Team Jeff, right? I'm the weirdo that has it. But I'm here for Team Carey too.
Me too. 100%. Look, on Rain and Blood, there's two first tracks. There's one first track, there's Angel of Death, but then there's Piece by Piece. Each of those songs, Hanneman wrote the music for Angel of Death, Kerry King wrote the Piece by Piece. Now, Angel of Death is a better album opener, but Piece by Piece is as good as Angel of Death. Like, that could have opened the album as well. Like, dude, Kerry King's no slouch. Like, not at all. He's fucking awesome. But yeah, Jeff.
I agree. Jeremy, is that figure that you have of Carrie, is that teenage Carrie? I don't see any tattoos on his head.
Oh, no, that's definitely. Oh, there it is.
There he is. Okay, there we go. I just had to make sure. I didn't know if this was early on.
He was involved when he was a teenage.
I don't fucking know him. What do you want me to do? Jesus.
I will say, I got a quick little moment here. I was at Psycho Vegas seeing Merciful Fate. And my wife and I are walking around, and we're near like the sound board. And we cut somebody off, and I was like, fuck, that's Kerry King. We just like cut Kerry King off. And then he like goes and sits at the soundboard, and I'm just like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm watching fucking Merciful Fate with Kerry King right now. And no one can tell me otherwise. So I'm good.
It's a good time.
Fucking that whole Psycho Vegas. I don't know if you've ever played it or anything like that. But
yeah.
That was awesome. I saw At the Gates in a pool. Like, what the hell? Like, how sick is that? Gate creeper in a pool. So good time. Anyway, I digress. So okay. What about you, Eric? Team Carey, Team Jeff. What are you, man?
Yeah, if I said that. And of course, I mean, we already had this conversation. We're already at an hour, so I don't want to take all of Todd's fucking night here. But I will say, South of Heaven, and only because of Spill the Blood as an album ender. You know what I'm saying?
What a great song. What a great
tell me a fucking example of a band, no matter what genre, to end a track like Spill the Blood. Still to this day, one of my favorite Slayer songs, and a great album closer.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good one.
So sick. All right. Every Bridge Burning, brother. Tell me now, is this kind of a COVID thing while this is, starting to culminate up? I know obviously like Nails was never a thing that ended. It was never a thing that, went in a lull. We just had a little bit of a space, a little bit of a gap in writing. Where did the start for this new record come,
man? Probably 2018 or 2019 had some riffs, like the pain. Give Me the Painkiller was the first song that was like completely done.
Love it, by the way. Love it, by the way.
Oh, cool. Right, thank you.
Sick track.
Thank you. And then like there's a couple riffs in there, like the mosh to the song Every Bridge Burning. That was one of the earlier things, and the Punishment Map song, that was pretty early. But mainly a lot of it was probably written after I started getting together and jamming with Carlos in September of 2022. Shelby wrote the song Dehumanized, which is a slamming song. And yeah, it took a while to to kind of get to that point of playing with Carlos. COVID happened early 2020, and then I got asked to work on a Terror record in the summer of 2020. And so I kind of focused my efforts on that until that was done in the summer of 2021. And then, just finding people to play with. And I found Carlos in September of 2022. And then we just started getting busy and making it happen, trying to write a record.
Did you meet him through like playing like a show together, or I mean, because that dude, I have seen his face through live videos and filling in with bands and doing tour packages, and I'm like, that's fucking. I've been looking at that guy forever, and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. I can't ever pin him down. And then finally, I see him start, announcing that he was playing. He's in the band, playing drums and shit. I'm like, fuck, that's him. All right.
Yeah. So with Nails, it's like to have a drummer playing nails, it's an interesting thing because you kind of need somebody who could do two completely different styles. Like you need somebody who could do the punk rock stuff, and then you need somebody who could do the double bass metal stuff. And typically, if you have a guy, or not a guy, but a person who wants to learn punk rock drumming, they typically don't have any interest in the metal drumming, and vice versa. If there's a metal drummer, they typically don't have any interest in playing like punk inspired drums. It's a very hard thing to find, but I was just online looking at bands and stuff, and I came across Carlos on Metal Archives, and I saw that he was wearing like Cro-Mag shirts and playing in Warbringer, which is like a LA thrash metal band, and then also he did this project during COVID called Reseda. Shit, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like no, it wasn't called Receipt. It was called I can't remember the name, and I'm sorry, Carlos, but it was it was like Necro Sound. It's called Necro Sound, and it was like more like crust punk influence stuff. So I was like,
Oh, sick.
whoa, I wonder if I could like reach out this to him, and I wonder if he'd be interested in playing music with me. And one of the things I noticed is we had a mutual friend, Arthur Rizek, who is a recording audio engineer based out of Philadelphia. I'm sure you guys know his name.
True.
If you don't, he did Power Trip Records, Creator Records, um, lots of underground hardcore metal stuff. He's a really great audio engineer, and also a friend. So I reached out to Arthur. I said, "Hey man, I don't want to cold email um, Carlos. Like, do you think you could just talk to him and say, see if I could just email him or something, see if he'd be interested in getting an email?" And so he did. He reached out to Carlos, and Carlos was like, "Sure, give me a call, give me an email." So I reached out to Carlos, and it all worked out. But yeah, Arthur introduced us.
Damn, no shit. I mean, with you guys first meeting, like, meeting up as far as like a jam or whatever, was it just playing older stuff, or did you have new riffs that right away you kind of wanted to hear what he would have tossed on it?
We didn't learn any older stuff. We just when I first met Carlos, he was busy. He had things going on. He wasn't sure if he could commit to nails, right? So at first it was like on the basis like I'm gonna help you create a record. And it's like, all right, cool, thank you. And then we jammed. The first song we put together was "Give Me the Painkiller," and it was great. Like it was freaking awesome. And then we just kept on getting together once every 2 weeks, and just bashed it out until we had an album's worth of music.
Is he West Coast then too?
Yeah, Carlos lives in the San Fernando Valley, which is in LA.
Oh,
And so like in his rehearsal studio is only like a 45 to 60-minute drive from where I live. So it's it's no sweat. We can get together,
okay.
very easily.
Maybe the fugitive and power trip thing that I was seeing, him. I've seen him in other bands too, and doing things live. Maybe
Right.
that
So
was, but I'm like, how
how
the fuck is he doing that?
Power Trip did a European tour where their drummer Chris, I believe that he may have gotten into like an accident, and he physically wasn't able to go on the tour. So they got Carlos to play with them, and Carlos did a European tour with them. And then I think with the Fugitive stuff, they came out to California, but their drummer was on tour with their other band. And because they had a relationship with Carlos through Power Trip, they called Carlos and Carlos did it and he fucking killed it.
Yeah. Well,
And
nah,
also, I recommend checking out a band called Ohm, OHM. Carlos plays drums in a jazz fusion band with Chris Poland from Megadeth, and also a bass player fellow. They're a three-piece and they fucking kill. Go onto YouTube and search Ohm, OHM, and then the two words baked potato. The baked potato is like a rock club out here in the San Fernando Valley, and like just check it out, watch him play because it'll blow your mind. Like I don't even if you're not into jazz fusion, like it'll blow your mind.
wow. No. Now is this a different band than the dude from Between the Buried and Me, or is that
Yeah. This isn't involving anybody in between the buried and me.
okay?
Yeah. No. It's Chris Poland who played guitar on lead guitar on the first two Megadeth records. He lives out in L.A. and yeah, they're a good band.
So Carlos
OHM.
has chops, is what you're saying.
He's fucking good. Like he's skilled in many different genres of music when it comes to drums and guitar playing and songwriting. He's a hell of a musician.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
what is that? So what does that look like? Is that you just laying that, like you just sitting there like playing that riff and then he just blasted in with that like the double beaters? Was it like magic? Was it like holy shit? Or are you like a little more hands-on with it where you had maybe something outlined already?
Yeah, I wish I could make it sound more fun than it was, but truthfully, I had a song with electronic drums over it, and so the guide was there, but Carlos really did his thing in making it his own. He didn't play exactly what was on my demo that I made on my computer, um, but it was kind of outlined.
I feel like, I guess, coming from a drum standpoint, I've over the years I have grown to prefer that, honestly. And I know that some people are like, what the fuck? You want to tell me what it is I'm writing? Well, sometimes somebody might write something. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, I can't even comprehend. But then I can hear even like a click or how like it's just a bass and a snare. It's kind of nice as far as having that little bit to where when you sit down and actually are kind of fleshing it out and writing it, it's like I'm not playing just straight up that thing. I'll have to toss in fills and different shit.
Dude, I wholeheartedly agree. Shelby wrote some material on this album. He wrote a full song, and he would do the same thing where he would make a song and demo the guitars with the drums. And for me, that makes me understand the intent of the song more
Yeah.
and like what the vision is because it's like, how do I say this? I'd rather understand your vision and support it and then maybe add to it if I had something relevant to add than immediately just assume that I needed to put my stamp all over this. Like I would rather do what was best for the song and do what was best for the team than and just get the intent and understand that and and focus on that than to, play what I think was in my head.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I've always found that to be like kind of that balancing act because I like to Eric's point. I think there's some cats that are like, I feel like you're being like a band dictator because you've written everything and you've taken away all the creativity. But then there's some folks who are like exactly this. I want the context. Like, that could be played halftime. It could be played with a triplet. Like I don't know exactly which riff you're hearing in your head, and I think especially for a drummer, it's like they might not think in riffs.
Yeah.
Good, but they
I
might.
also think the context of the music you're playing has a lot to do with it. Like if you're playing like in a punk rock or a hardcore or like even a metal band, it's like maybe it's not supposed to be expressive. I wouldn't use the word expressive to describe like I don't want to say that, but just some music was made to be very simple.
sure.
And then some music was made to be very progressive, like a band like Dream Theater. It's like, okay, that's a band where I would assume like all the members of the band are like actually interested in each person adding something to the song because it sounds to me like that's what the music calls for. Um, but yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's a level of maturity to be able to say, I'm here to support this so it could be the best thing it could be.
Yeah, and even if I think where my mind goes is like for having the like back to the whole like having like drum samples or whatever is like a moment like in certain parts of Nails where it might be just a steady chug, and then meanwhile you have the drums are up and maybe doing a blast or doing something a little bit faster or something faster a lot of times with like a tremolo pick and it just being like a bass snare, like real simple thing. I think that's something too that also complements where it's like you're thinking that oh it's fast, I need to fucking how fast are you playing, Jeff? What you slower? Okay, it's like okay, this helps.
Yeah.
And I mean now, like you this new record, like tell us about working with Jeff. I mean, on top of something for me, having going to record shops and over the years being visually stimulated by something. Thank God there's bands like Nails who have amazing cover art, and then luckily we're gonna pop that bad boy on, and the music kicks ass as well. Jeff Whitehead, what can you tell us about working with him on the cover art
here? It's easy, and it's something I love doing. He worked on the last record, that You'll Never Want Be One of Us record, so we had already established like a relationship and a personal rapport and communication. So, when I reached out to him and I said, hey, we're doing a record, like, would you be interested in doing the artwork for it? He agreed. And he said, well, hey, what do you want? And I gave him some rough ideas, and then he finished it up and did it. He did his thing. And he has taken an active interest in our band. The cover imaged Every Bridge Burning has the same like demon figure guy that's on the You'll Never Be One of Us. And that was something he suggested. He's like, hey, I want to make this like your icon. I don't know if he said icon, but he make it kind of like our character, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that's cool. Like he has suggested things that have made things better for our artwork, and just also he's taken an active interest in our band in that way. And I hope that we always can work together when it comes time to make an album cover.
I mean, and that's the thing is he's killing it. I mean, even on that last record too. I was going to ask. I guess I didn't realize that Jeff did the last record there.
That's right. Yep.
Notes, but the similarities between the character. I was going to see if there was anything there. You mentioned that fucking kicks ass, man. Your own Eddie. You know what I'm saying? Have that motherfucker marching on stage with you guys.
Yes. And yeah, dude. I mean, he's just. I just love his artwork. It's his personality is in the artwork, his life is in the artwork. Like it's great. I think I'm happy, and also like I feel fortunate that like our music can be represented with his artwork on an album cover. It's fucking awesome. I'm a big fan of his.
So it's interesting because like with Nails, you've always obviously partnered with Kurt for the recording side of things, and then now you have like kind of like your art. Okay, we have a team here, and but when I think of like when I first started hearing the name Todd Jones, like when it was like, oh man, Carry On and Terror and Betrayed and like all these things and like Internal Affair, like it's like there was just like a lot of movement, I would say, right? There was like you're not gonna know, and then Nate comes out, and it's sort of like to be fair at the time, like I saw you guys at This Is Hardcore, and I was a huge fan from the moment I heard a riff. So, but it was kind of like, well, is this Betrayed? Is this
Sure.
what is this going to be? But obviously, what it's been is like this like monolithic like almost I don't want to like fucking pump your head up, but like it's a pillar, like it's like Nails. Oh, Nails are releasing an album, like it matters. There's a wind change, like. So like, what was that like always your plan? Where you're like, this is gonna be like, I'm gonna ride this, and this is the band I'm gonna be in. This is my band. This is my thing now, or was it just happened to be that way?
Well, I'd say I'm very fortunate in the way that I do like a lot of different styles of punk rock and hardcore and even metal. So I have, have been fortunate enough to have experiences where, I did play in a band like Carry On or a band like Terror or Internal Affairs or Betrayed and such and so forth. Um, and, you know, when I started Nails and started and got some folks together and started Nails, I did say, um, I was in my mid to late 20s, and even by that time, I had been in, a handful of bands, and I wasn't thrilled about the fact that I wasn't in one band that lasted a long time. And I wanted that. And so I made this decision that I'm going to start this band and I'm going to sing and play guitar with the expectation that if, there is member turnover, that I could continue to do the band and do this band for as long as I want to do it. So short answer is yes.
That was the plan. It was like I'm gonna have this thing, and one way or another, it'll be a project that I can kind of stick with, and it'll be my consistent project. And then whatever else I'm a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I have done things on this on I have done things in addition to Nails. I was in a band called Fireburn, which was I really loved being in that band. Um, and I'll be doing some things here and there in the future, but really Nails is like, kind of like my heart and soul. That I'm lucky that I get to play with such great musicians with.
And I think it's cool too, the aspect of when I initially hear the very first ingredient of, Terror has a new record coming out and Todd Jones is involved. It was like, don't get me wrong, I love Terror. I love the records that they had before this. This album was something absolutely fucking special. I remember talking to Jeremy, my friends. I'm just like, dude, Pain into Power is fucking awesome. And I think it just kind of adds, that kind of like feel of the first couple of records there, and like that little, like kind of a attachment. I mean, as far as that you had with the band too, and that's kind of a fun thing with music, is being able to have something like Nails, and then you have different projects. You have features. Life Sick. You had done a feature on that Reverse Birth. That band fucking rules. I don't even
Yeah,
know
they're great.
how did we hear them.
Well, they've popped up on my radar. I think they did a record with Southern Lord, and they've been big supporters of Nails. So I would see them on social media and stuff like that, and I followed them and whatnot. And one day they just reached out on social media and asked if I would be interested in contributing guest vocals to one of their songs, or it might have been a direct email. I can't really recall, but I definitely said sure, I would like to do that, and yeah, they're a fantastic band.
Yeah, band roll playing New England Hardcore Fest. That would be fucking sick. Those
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Nails and stuff. And I mean, you guys are kind of getting on the road a little bit, and that always feels like a special thing too. Like Jeremy had said, there's always kind of a riff, a breeze in the wind as far as something new happening with Nails. Especially you guys playing shows. That's not really like a thing as far as seeing you guys on the road a whole lot. So is it?
Well, it will be the first time we've toured since the summer of 2019. But like when we did You Will Never Be One of Us, we probably came through Detroit like 3 times, in that 3 year span.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, so we went in 2016, 2017, and 2019. Not to put you on the spot, but we get out there, man. But the thing is this, like I I don't want to waste anybody's time and I don't want to waste people's money. And I also want like, dude, if I'm gonna do my thing and play in a band, and if we're gonna do Nails, I want to stoke our fans out as much as possible, which is why we didn't come back and start playing shows until we had a new album. Like we want to be able to say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we're working on. We're gonna tour on it. Like, please come to the shows and check us out. Let's have some fun. Instead of saying, oh, hey, we're gonna tour for a year or two before we give you guys a new album. Like, I don't want to be a band that does that.
Yeah.
Like we'll go on tour, but we need to have a reason for it. You know what I'm saying? Like we need to have a reason why we're asking you to come to our show, pay money to see us. And we want the show to be cool. We want there to be, like we want people there to be enthusiastic and we don't want to what we don't want to do is burn out our band and start playing shows so much that people just, oh, I don't really need to see this right now. Nails always comes through. I'll see him in 6 months or 12 months.
Sure. Okay.
I appreciate that, like just that idea, like we're not just going to go through the motions, and that shouldn't come as a shock or surprise. I mean, obviously, I feel like if there's a no compromise band, like Nails would fall under that category, being a no compromise band. But I also imagine there's probably moments of like maybe like it can be probably difficult. Like fuck, I just want to get out and rip some shows,
Dude, you're
but
telling
no.
me, man. We could have but it was just like, dude, I don't want to, like, we put out a record in 2016. I don't want to go play shows in 2022 or 2023 without a new record. Like I want to give our fans something that they want. Like, you know, I think that's the best way to do it. Like I don't want to abuse their wallet or abuse their trust or their patience with us. I mean, I understand it was probably hard being a Nails fan and wondering, hey, where's Nails? Like, I get it, but really, it's like the main thing was to give you something that you would want and not waste your time. Like, dude, we're all old enough where we have experienced some of our favorite bands or some bands that we're fans of put out new records, and it's obvious that it's not as inspired or not as good as their last record. And, you know, I would rather wait 8 years to put out a record that I felt at least that Nails fans would feel that was good, as opposed to putting out a record in 2022 or 2023 and knowing only a quarter of it's good. You know, it's like I don't think bands who do that intentionally mean to rip their fans off, but unfortunately, I think that's how people feel. Like if a band I like puts out a record that's obviously not as good as their last one, I feel kind of burnt. Like, dude, I spent my $20 or $25 on your vinyl record and it's not good, dude. Like, it sucks.
No, and forgive me because I might even fucking put my foot in my mouth here, thinking out loud. But the single that you guys put out in 2019, that wasn't anything attached to this record, right? That's not like a re-recording that of songs, or was that
It's
ever
just,
timeline wise something attached to this?
no, it's its own thing.
Oh,
So historically, Nails has put out records every 3 years. Like between Unsigned Death and A Band on the Life was 3 years. Between A Band on the Life and You Will Never Be One of Us was 3 years. So in 2019, it was time to do a record, and we didn't have a record. We only had a couple songs. So it was like, hey, like I was really in a writer's block. Anytime I would pick up a guitar, nothing good would come out, at least to my ears. And so it was just like, look, we could give them two songs now, or we could not give them anything. And so we just did that. And honestly, like, dude, I love those two songs. Like those that like part of me wishes that we held those songs back so they could be on an album because I think they're that good. But it's a cool two-song single, and I don't think, I see the Spotify and I see that, they have good numbers. So people have found out about them. People know about those songs, but I also feel that it's like kind of like a hidden release in a way. You know what I mean? I mean, people just don't take EPs or singles as seriously as they do full lengths. And that's a whole different kind of psychology. I understand it, but that's a whole conversation on its own.
Well, that to me, I was actually thinking about that, just as I was like sifting through your discography, and as much as I have records on my shelf, let's be real, like I'm going through Spotify when I'm in my car, when I'm driving from here to there. So I'm going through that, and it made me think of that because I actually had thought about how, I hadn't listened to those two songs, and I hadn't listened to them in a while. I mean, it's honestly probably been years, right? Like it made like 2020, 2021. But I'm like, it's because it's like it's in a totally different section. It's under singles and like it's like it's even that. It's like it's not in my face, and there's a million
Yeah.
things in my face. So it's like, oh, like I've just been seeing, You'll Never Be One of Us, and I've been listening to that, You know, I didn't see the single. I'm like, man, like as I was digging through for this and preparing, I'm like, I'm fucking up. Like I've been missing these riffs for a while. But yeah, like it's it's on that topic, and you can tell me to fuck off if it's like I don't really want to get into like all that kind of stuff. But you know, I've looked at some interviews and things like that when you're talking about like the writer's block and things like that. And is it like in my mind, I wonder like when you're thinking about like previous albums, when you're thinking of things your output that you've had, that seems like that I'm and rightfully so, but maybe a blessing and a curse type of thing where it's like, man, it's so awesome. I'm proud of what I've done, but it's like the bar is really fucking high. So is it that it's writer's block in the sense of like, no, really, there's just not songs coming out, or is it just like you're like, nah, that's shit, nah, that's shit, like being picky?
I think that both those things, in addition to just not feeling inspired, not really like feeling that great about creating new music, like, and it kind of brings it back to like the Van Halen thing. Like I was super interested in Van Halen and I was learning their songs and I decided to be more expressive in my own guitar playing. But I think what else that did is that got my brain going more where I was like enjoying playing guitar, you know what I mean? Because I haven't been for a while. And I think enjoying playing guitar made me enjoy some of my own stuff that I was coming up with, right? And so it's like, you know, it's I think it was that, I think I just needed to kind of get busy and like just put my nose in the grindstone and like learn things and activate my brain. But I didn't really know that at the time. I think having so many bouts with writer's block and like now I know how to get out of it after this. Like the next time I have writer's block, I'm not even gonna pick anything I like. I'm just gonna start learning random things on guitar that I don't know because that's gonna do something to my brain to make me enjoy just doing things again.
100%. Like that's what I've found lately is like the best thing for that is like learning a song, like putting something, being like, I'm going to learn this song or I'm going to dig into this song, whether it's a
Yeah.
metal or a hardcore song or not. It's just like learning that thing. And then it's like, oh, cool. Like my brain is just thinking about things in a different way. And I'm like, okay, like let's keep going. Whereas, yeah, like in the past, there'd be months where I'm just like, I don't really like playing guitar, but,
It happens.
but like you said, like songs like that. Are you a guy that like you? I know you said you learned some Van Halen. Is that something you just regularly have done in your life? Like you're like, I'm going to learn some songs, or is it mostly been focused on writing?
Well, when I started playing guitar, I would learn everybody's songs, Nirvana songs, Metallica songs, Slayer songs. And then especially when I got into punk rock and hardcore, I would absolutely spend time learning those songs because I wanted to know how to play hardcore and punk rock.
Mm-hmm.
So I would learn all my favorite stuff. And then probably like early 2000s, like I probably stopped learning other people's songs and just kind of focused on my own thing. Um, yeah, I didn't start like it's rare that I would be like, oh, I need to go learn how to do this. Like before Van Halen, it was probably like it's probably like a Mogwai song from like 2004 or something or 2003. I
Yeah,
know it's weird, but like they have this song, it's called like Hunted by a Freak. And like the melodicism in that song like blew my mind when I first heard it. It's the first song off one of their records. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of got to a point in my life where I didn't really care about like learning other people's stuff.
100%. And like you said, it's like you don't real like my habit was always kind of like you're saying, like very utility based. Like I kind of learned what I had to learn
Yeah.
until
So
I
you
could
could,
write my own stuff.
yeah, then you got to a point where you're good enough to play the style you wanted to. Yeah, that's kind of same thing with me.
And then that's all I want. Like it doesn't, it'd be funny, because obviously when you play guitar and you talk to somebody who like doesn't understand, like they'll be like, "What? Oh, like play me something, or what do you know?" And I'm like, I don't know any songs on it. I don't know any songs. I can't play
That's
you the song. I don't know how.
That's so funny, dude, because I had that same thought recently. Like I used to know how to play full Led Zeppelin songs. I know like very small pieces of them now. I used to know every Nirvana song, and I probably only know like five. Like it's just I just don't learn other people's shit.
And honestly, I struggle if I'm not playing along with like a band. Like if I'm not playing along with like a full recording, or I'm not playing along with like a live band. Like don't ask me to sit down and play it for like I'm not gonna play this song all the way through with nothing. Like I can't. Like that's just not what I do. Like I'm not gonna play a song by itself. It's just not in the cards. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, but you get so in that mode that you don't think to learn. Like you're why would you learn a song to break your writer's block? You don't ever learn songs, so why would that help? Um,
Yeah.
but same thing. I've noticed like holy shit, like since I've been just like that's how I'll warm up is I'm gonna learn, piece by piece by Slayer, or I'm gonna work on, you know, Black Magic or whatever it is, and I'm just gonna learn like a riff. I'm not trying to learn the whole song. I'm just fucking around playing a part. It just I feel like writing music afterwards more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Now, as far as every bridge burning, you kind of mentioned as far as the writer's block for the guitar and for writing, but lyrical content, stories, things that involved. Was there anything involved there? As far as just kind of having a hard time, or did that kind of come right away with ideas for writing, and how does the album title come along?
Well, I had a couple different album titles, but I think Every Bridge Burning was the probably the best, and also the one that painted like a good picture, like particularly for an album cover. Um, the lyrics came pretty easy. I mean, I think coming out of COVID, I think everybody probably felt a lot of emotions during COVID, and so I had a lot of subject matter, and also like I had a lot of lyrical ideas saved for years. So during those years, I would just, in my notes, I would just write things down. And so when it came times, like I'm kind of like a music first, vocals last kind of musician. So like I'd actually like to change that. But for instance, we wrote all the music before I even started on any lyrics.
Oh, really? Okay.
So so yeah, once the music was done, and I just started writing lyrics and getting that done. But I had like 30 song titles to choose from, and probably like five lyrical like things to put in the songs and stuff that I thought were things that I liked a lot.
Okay. Do you have like a note sheet on your phone that's like a list of just really cool song names or album?
That's exactly what I have, and I have I have an iPhone, and you got the notes application and
Yeah.
some lists of song titles and whatnot, or things I hear that I think are cool. A lot of stupid things
Right.
that for some reason I just write them down, and I use them, or I use them or I don't, and just whenever I hear anything like, oh, that sounds like it could be in a song, just write it down.
Every once in a while you look back and you're like, I know that I wrote this one down when I was at work, so I had to be sober, and this is stupid as fuck. What was I
Yeah,
thinking?
most of my dumb ideas come when I'm inebriated, but
No, I mean that's cool. I think it's always something interesting as far as the lyrical content too. And as far as some of the things that have been released thus far, and the remainder of the record, I'm sure is gonna kind of follow suit. Have you found yourself your writing going any different direction? Any kind of you know odd pieces that you felt like were something a little bit new to you or your style?
after the record's done or during the record?
Like writing for the new record.
Oh man, yeah, I have tons of demos that are like that do not fit within the nail sphere.
Oh, okay.
I have tons. I record a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's mainly like melodic stuff that's like kind of morose, but it's I don't know. Like there was like a
me stuff,
melodic. What's that?
like doomy stuff, like Paul Bearer, or like
Probably more like Jane's Addiction.
like so a little more like
Oh,
alternative grungy kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean yeah, Jane's Addiction I think is kind of like a band like in Led Zeppelin where they have like their songs, they aren't the typical verse chorus bridge chorus over. They're almost like movements. Like there's like the first half of a song has a vibe, and then the second half of the song has a vibe. Then maybe
oh,
the third part of the song has a vibe. I don't know. It's just kind of like vibey melodic stuff. I don't know if I would call it like grunge or anything like
I
Paul
guess.
Bear. Like it's just
I
like
mean, it's almost funky at times. And Dave Navarro is a
very
pretty
funky band. Yeah,
funky,
but I like
fusiony
I
kind of guy.
Yes, and I love all that stuff, and I love him as a guitar player. But my favorite Jane's Addiction stuff is like the side B of Ritual de lo Habitual, where like some of their like more like sadder melodic sounding songs from Nothing Shocking, and even some of their later records. I like some of the stuff off that too. But like just kind of like gets like just kind of guitar stuff that doesn't really. I don't know. I don't know if it has a place in Nails or really anywhere, but it's just like fun stuff that I like to play on my guitar.
It's really, so you're saying this is just stuff that just sitting there by yourself, you've composed it and it's a demo of something, but it's at this point it's just an idea of yours on a computer.
Yeah, like I don't have any plans to do anything with it.
Like, oh, it's awesome. And like I say, I mean, that's a kind of a beautiful thing with music is that every once in a while when you have somebody who's known in this genre and is doing some other shit and maybe just tosses it out in the world, doesn't even credit themselves and just kind of puts it out there, whatever.
Yeah, like I'm for sure like a hardcore guitar player. Like that's what I am. But with that being said, like I could play a lot of other things on guitar that are outside hardcore, right? But I don't know. Get the, I am a guitar player and I am a hardcore person. Like sometimes most of the time those things are the same thing. Sometimes it's not the same thing. Sometimes I'm just a guitar player that plays weird things.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I was wondering is, you were like Painkiller was the first song you said that kind of came together, right? That like
Yeah, that's true.
solidified, which to me is interesting because that first riff, that was where it started, did it start with that real like Motorhead, like new wave of British heavy metal? Was that like the riff that you had that you're like, oh shit, I got something. Like this is
Yeah.
because to me that's like interesting because that's kind of atypical, right? Like that's not something you might have heard, the first time you heard Nails,
No,
like
it's different.
and
Um,
so it's cool that like you were like, hold on though, like that stands above the other shit that I've been coming up with. So
It was interesting to me, and also it was like I was listening to stuff like that, and it was also something that I thought like this is something that I think we can inject into Nails without really with number one still sounding like Nails, and number two not repelling our fans. Like this isn't like so out of left field that they're just gonna be like, yo, this is gross, this is offensive. You know what I mean? So because I am cautious of that. As much as I want to be an artist. I really I want to fucking dude, we're so lucky. Like we have people who are interested in our band, and any band who has anybody interested in their band is lucky. And like, dude, I want to foster that. It's like, dude, you like Nails? I want to give you more of it then. Like, yes, please. So here's some more. And I didn't think that thing was like too far out to not use. And I liked it. And I was like, yeah, I think we could make this work within Nails.
and honestly, like the more I listen, because it did. I mean, honest, the first time I heard that and I heard that lick, I was like, oh, this is different. I didn't think it was good or bad, and instantly I just was like, this is okay. It reminds me of Motorhead a little bit, and then your vocals come in, and I'm like, well, yeah, it's Nails. There's Todd, like Todd fucking Jones, cool. But the more I listened to it and sat with it, I was like, honestly, it has like a tinge of like You Fail Me era, like Converge,
Yeah,
like Heroes
I've been,
era Converge.
yeah. Why do you think?
It's the well, you know,
Well, no, the thing is, I've
I'm
been
saying, but like
seeing,
it's like the jangliness of it, it's got that like to your point. I think it's the
hey,
expressiveness, which to me, Kurt
Kurt
is
is
one of the
an
most.
an extremely expressive guitar player, extremely expressive, and
He's like,
also a very big Eddie Van Halen fan too. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, I get it. Like that makes a lot of sense to me because I've seen feedback where it's like, oh, it really sounds like Converge, and Converge is one of my favorite bands of all time. I have a big Converge tattoo right here on my arm.
that's
Um, happy to be compared to Converge, happy to be compared to Converge. But part of me is like, I don't know if I don't know if I hear what these folks hear. But when you say it like that, that does make a lot of sense to me. Kurt is extremely expressive, and hey, he recorded our record. Like, like the person who records Converge records recorded our record. So like there's probably some sonic similarities.
For sure. And I think in the tones, right? I mean, like the guitar tones, obviously, like Kurt's like a king of getting a guitar tone.
He is. Yes. Agreed.
And just just the things he does, and like you said, I think a lot of it's just the expressiveness. I think it's the you're doing like the pull off stuff, and like it's like that like controlled chaos thing. Um,
Yeah.
it just has that vibe. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, but this it's like it's to the point, it's concise, and it's like, and like I said, when your vocals come in, which I gotta say, like kudos as well, because I feel like your vocals on this album have even like fleshed out. Like, and I've only heard the
Yeah,
singles, so
thank
I
you.
haven't heard them, but like I'm hearing like it's like this, like I don't even know how to explain it because I'm not a fucking vocalist, but it's like just you got that like phlegm,
Yeah.
fucking like blah, blah, blah thing, and it's fucking awesome. And like it's like no, it's just awesome. Like I don't want to be a
Well,
fucking
well, thanks.
here.
I'll give you some information about that. So we recorded all the music to the record in October, and when we recorded, I was recording my vocals, and by the end of the session, I was like, dude, I'm very unhappy with my vocal performance. And so we agreed that, we would record the vocals in LA in January, excuse me, and then Kurt would mix the record. So I had like 2 months to rehearse my vocals before I recorded them for the record, which I took advantage of. So I would say that this is the first record where the vocals, my voice as an instrument was very well rehearsed before I recorded the vocals of the song. I
Was
didn't do that on previous records.
was that something that you've just kind of really had to like learn on the job, so to speak, as you've been going? Because like
Yeah.
I mean, like Nails, I mean, like did you do backing vocals prior to Nails in a band?
Well, I mean, they're in a band, sure, I would get a mic and do backing vocals, but I never learned. Well, number one, I've never taken any vocal lessons, but number two, like to your point, yes, I did learn how to sing or do whatever it is I do, just by doing nails, just what people refer to as on the job training. Um, and I'm not convinced that I have completely learned how to do that. But I have gotten better at it.
Yeah, there's absolutely an additional slang to it. I won't say that it's turned all the way up to a 5 or 6, but it's that familiar sound that we get, and I couldn't agree with Jeremy more, even from these singles here, where I'm like, oh man, he's tossing some fucking shit on this. We got what we expect that we're getting. There's some
Cool.
extra shit here though.
Awesome.
And
I mean, you kind of mentioned in tone, within the studio, and it's cool because you guys did that, kind of short documentary on YouTube for "You'll Never Be One of Us."
Yeah.
Is that kind of the same process here with this record, or did you have like a shorter time as far as toning in, everything guitar wise?
I would like to have done a documentary for this one, but it just didn't work out. We probably spent the most time, like every time we go to the studio, we had like 2 days. So for Unsilent Death, we did a total of six, and then Abandon All Life, we did a total of eight. Then You'll Never Be One of Us was 10. And I think for this one, I think we did like, I think we did 10 or 12. And but the guitar tone really, like, I kind of just kind of let Kurt do his own thing, man. I just stay out of the way. We try various amps and we tell him which ones we like, and then based off that, he'll pick an amp or he'll pick the amps we asked him to, and then he'll just start getting to work. Like to your point, I do think he's very excellent at getting a guitar tone, and I do think he has like phenomenal ears, and he's really great at that. That's one of the reasons why we go record with him. And that's like one thing I was talking about earlier. It's like, hey, like I could give him like a bunch of opinions, or I could just support him and tell him to go for it. And in that kind of situation, I just tell him to go for it. There are times when I'm opinionated and I say, hey, Kurt, can you do A, B, and C? But when it comes to guitar tone, we just let him do his thing. And, you know, so far it's always been a pleasant result from us.
It's good when you can trust somebody and and it's funny. I feel like that's the same contrast, or I guess comparison you were saying for Carlos. Like for a band like Nails, do you go with, the death metal producer? Do you go with the punk rock hardcore producer, or do you go with Kurt Ballou and God City and you get both? And you get
Sure.
you can reference Slayer, you can
Yeah.
reference Deicide, you can reference Sonic Youth or whoever, and like he gets it. He understands what you're
Yeah.
talking about, no matter what it would be, and not just like, oh, I know that band. He'll know like the sonic palette you're talking about. Like, oh, that's gonna be I need to get an 800 in here, and I'm gonna throw this tube screamer in front of it, and I know exactly how to get exactly what you just said.
That's funny you said that because I've said that before to people. One of my reasons why I like going to record with him because he has a very wide understanding of music and particularly the music that I'm interested in. So that's definitely one of the reasons why I like to go to him is because he could understand what I want to do.
Well, and it sounds to me like, and obviously I'm just some dude in Michigan that doesn't know dick from shit, but like it seems to me like talking to you, you're like, there's that maturity of like, I don't give a fuck like who wrote the riff, or if you think that it would be cooler if it was cut in half. Like if it's better for the song, I want to do it. Kurt, I mean, he seems like he's got that same, like he's got that maturity. Like I don't give a shit like what is cool, or I don't care what like
Yeah,
me or that self-serving thing or whatever it is. It's like he just seems like I'm going to do what's ever best for the record and what's best to get this sound. And if that means I'm going to use some Line 6 HX effects stuff to get something, then I'm going to do it. I don't give a shit that I can hand build pedals, but maybe there's this other thing that's this little, whatever digital electronic thing that's
yeah.
written.
He has no ego and no agenda, right? And it's exactly what you just said. I've heard him say it before. He wants to do what's best for the record he's working on. And I've seen him do that. I've seen him do that with nail stuff. It's like, hey, this sounds really rad. We're gonna put this a little higher in the mix. Hey, this doesn't sound as rad as that. So we're gonna put this a little lower. And it's great.
That's cool. It's awesome to see, kind of from the outside in. It's always cool to see, as far as us being fans and kind of seeing the inner workings of things and studio time. I think that's something that's always kind of fun. Does anything stand out to you as far as maybe memorable working titles for songs? So, before something was give me the painkiller. Did you have anything off to the side that was written down and good fun for everybody? Me and Jeremy are always fucking with this.
No, yeah, no. As a fan of music myself, I understand exactly what you're saying. Um,
My demo titles are the worst. I'll just say that. They're like, I'm like, how the fuck what am I going to call this riff?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
no,
Yamaha speaker rock. It's like I'm just like lamp.
yeah. No, I didn't. No, 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 no weird working titles that I could report that I recall. That doesn't mean they weren't there. I just can't think of them.
See, but you have your database of like cool names, so you
That's
probably
the thing. I already had a
have
song
that.
title for that. Yeah, I already had like as soon as the chorus was written, I was like, oh, I like heard like I had it. So it was pretty immediate.
Do you
Like that
say?
was like. Mhm.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say like you hear bands talk about it's like oh like this one song and it happens to be like one of their best or one of their most favorite songs. It's like, oh, this song just kind of wrote itself. Like we wrote this song in 2 minutes. Like I was watching a video with ZZ Top talking about LaGrange, and they were like, oh yeah, we just pulled this out. Like this was like a 2 minute thing. And for Painkiller, it was kind of like that. The song kind of wrote itself.
Oh yeah. And to me, sometimes I mean that's sometimes when you have a banger. Like it's like it just flows. Like I didn't you
Yeah,
have the
sometimes.
massage apart. Sometimes
Sometimes I
it can
got.
be shit, but like if it does just the song finishes like that, like you were saying, like man, we sat down in one session and within an hour it was done. If in a month you still are like it's done, those songs to me like they hold up. Like it's like man, those songs end up being like for me in my experience like one of my like they're my favorite songs because they have an energy usually. It's more of a vibe then. It's not thought out as much. It's just the song.
Yeah.
Dude. I think Jeremy, I think we make this kind of the time here. Todd has given us damn near 2 hours of his time. We've talked all sorts of fucking awesome shit. I feel like we could be here for hours, but we need to be appreciative of the time and of the space that you got, man.
Cool.
August 30th.
What's that?
I was just gonna say August 30th. New
Yeah,
record.
August 30th, the record comes out, but I just want to say thanks for this. This is probably one of my favorite interviews I've done in a while. So
Yeah.
y'all were great. I really, really just had a good time just talking with it. Just felt like a conversation and not so much like an interview. But so thank you. And then yeah, August 30th, our record comes out through Nuclear Blast, and it'll be available, and it, just anybody who likes it, dude, I just appreciate it. Like, please buy it if you see it. If you can get a vinyl, there it is, Decibel. Thank you,
Pull his
Decibel.
cover in a minute. And look at Carlos just looking fucking fierce. I don't know how cameras work. Carlos is like, fuck all of you.
Carlos is awesome.
Leave it
Yeah,
still, motherfucker. Jesus Christ. It works by not fucking moving it. Leave it still so we can see it.
No. I refuse.
Oh.
I won't. I wasn't born to follow, motherfucker.
There you go.
Follow anyone shit.
No, so excited, man. Like I say,
Cool.
we're gonna be hopping on this mammoth grinder, 200 stab wounds. Jesus, I mean,
I can't handle
Fun.
hard. You know, I mean, did they say, listen, just keep it to one cool band and a couple others that we can keep it cheap? And you're like, no, fuck that. I have to have everything great all in one fucking bill.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I just want, like, listen, if you don't even like Nails, but you like those other three bands, cool, come to the show. But if you're a Nails fan, I think you would like each of those three bands. Like, I think you're gonna find something you like out of all of them. I mean, you're gonna like everything you like out of all of them. I think it's a killer tour package, and I'm grateful that we were able to get it worked out, and I'm grateful all the bands are doing it, and I think the shows are gonna be rad. But yeah, I just, when we go on tour, we just want to play with bands that, we like, but also that we think our fans would like enjoy being at the show and seeing, you know?
Totally.
Well, you nailed it.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'll fuck off right now.
asshole motherfucker.
Damn it.
No,
Extra
that's just something I gotta live with. I'm happy. I'm happy about it.
No, dude. Todd, once again, man, thank you so much. This has been amazing. We both truly appreciate it. All the music throughout the years, dude. You have pummeled us. Needless to say, you've ruined some of the ideas of us trying to get a cool guitar tone, and realizing we're never gonna fucking be one of them.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, no, hey, we're not going. No, stop. We're not going.
No, it's cool.
I see
It's
what
all
you're saying.
good.
I ruined that whole fucking thing. I completely messed up the title of it even. Jesus H.
No, it's good.
Seriously though, Todd, like, thanks for the riffs.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Everything's sick. I can't wait to see you guys September 13th, Tangent Gallery in Detroit. Gonna be hella sick.
Yes.
Until then, be safe. I hope the whole tour rips, and album's gonna be fucking sick. Thanks, Todd.
All right. Thanks, fellas. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Detroit. I hope I get to say hello.
For sure. Take it easy.
All right. See you, fellas. Bye-bye.